the resurrection of a discussion that has got many angry, some upset, and a lot more asking questions about why there are leaders in this country, but we seem to have allowed this menace of illegal mining, otherwise called galamsey, to pollute our water bodies. And not just that, our environment, our livelihoods. And we'll be going into the statistics very shortly. Protests have been held, with some arrested, as you know, and behind bars. Another one is set to happen from tomorrow for the next 3 days after tomorrow. And in the midst of this, the deadline given by the largest workforce in the country, organized labor, to the government to declare a state of emergency expires today. As a response ministerial committee. But beyond that, what is next? That is why we are here. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Agenda. My name is Beatrice Adu, and I'm very grateful that you would make time to join us tonight. When we come back, we'll tell you who we have on our panel, as well as an exclusive conversation we had with somebody who has been involved in illegal mining, and he'll be taking us into the ins and outs of this very business. Don't go away.
Mission here at TV3 is that the news comes first, and that's the promise of News Central.
With reporters every corner of the country.
Consignment to attain reaction
to production to the lions,
and experts across the subjects that affects you the most.
We stay across the big stories that impact you the most as they break, develop and evolve into major national issues.
With all angles covered across the country and across every subject.
I am Kemini Amano.
And I am Eric Mawina Egbeta.
News Central, live weekdays at 12 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Agenda, and tonight we are bringing you the discussion about the ban or the regulation, as it were, of illegal mining or small-scale mining, we call it, and the dilemma of the government as to whether or not to ban it. I told you that we've got some panel members ready to help us delve into this very conversation. And I do have on my right side with me Professor Kwesi. He's a security consultant. Good evening to you, Prof. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I have right here, my immediate left, Professor Benedicta Fosu-Mensah. She is Acting Director, Institute for Environment and Scientific Studies at the Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And we have on my extreme left, Ni Ayikwe Otu. He's a former Attorney General. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us as well. And like I told you, we have had a conversation with someone who has been in this business. We'll come back to take the preliminary comments of our panel members as regards where we are and really the solutions that we need at this stage. But watch this conversation I had with this person who has been involved in illegal mining, and he tells us really the ins and outs of it. Just watch this.
My company, they said they are registered miners. The registered miners are those who have the license from Minerals Commission. And galamsey, there's no difference between galamsey and illegal mining.
Tell us why.
Because when you read newspapers, they will tell you that galamsey are those who are spoiling their water bodies. That's not true. The small-scale miners, those who have the licenses, them to spoil our river bodies.
Tell us how.
You know,
It's a network, and when you dig the ground, before you can get the gold, unless you use water to wash the sun, so you spoil the river.
Yes, but can you tell us why you destroy the water bodies eventually?
The reason is that there is more gold on the river track than the plain land. Have you heard Bremu before? There's small rivers beside Bremu. Madam, Bremu have a lot of gold, and the Bremu gold is not a dust, it's a nugget. So every miner will be glad to divert the Bremu track.
But you've already done it, because I've seen the river, it's very brownish.
Yeah. Oh, they done it. They have done it already. Now Bremu has spoiled totally. So if you said you want to stop it, this aspect will involve a lot of money.
Aside from those people, do you know any big person or the people who are involved pushing people like yourself to go into illegal mining?
The big men will not push you like layman like this. You don't have nothing, they won't push you. They will push those who have the money, so that they will open the sites, and layman like me, you go and work there. You get my point. So, and every site, the secret is that this country, the mining companies it's like politicals. It's a political. I remember one concession belongs to one NDC man. Because of NDC is not in power, they maneuver and collect that concession to one MPP woman, a citizen MP right now, at somewhere at Etiwa. So it's a business, and it's a political business.
Are you not concerned that we are destroying our water bodies?
The first time I entered into the business, I wept, because if I see a vast land all of them are spoiled. When they begin to Operation Come Live, you are the miner, right? You have to be friends with DC. You have to be friends with how do you call it, MP. You have to be friends with what do you call it, the district police commander and the kings, sub-kings. So
what you're alleging is that all these people are involved in order for you to continue mining?
Yeah. So if those call Operation Come Life is coming, they will give a call. Mr. Kwame Appiah, Charlie, we are coming to do operation in your site. Do you if your boys are in duty, tell them to. Then you, the big man, the DC or blah blah, they called you. You ask them that, so which date operation you go to start? Then you tell them that, oh, we are coming to do 3 days operation. We will start morning 5 o'clock a.m. and we will stop 5 o'clock p.m. So the mining too, they do it day and night. So you, the big man that they called you, you told the boys that, Master, pack all your equipment. Don't go day, don't work at day. Start night.
So that's just a bit of that conversation I had with this former illegal miner just some few hours ago. And we'll get into it. He goes on to mention names of big people, quote unquote, who are involved in this. And you just watched him there telling us that even those who are sent there to ensure that we don't engage in illegal mining, they call them, there's that collusion, they call them to tell them that we are coming. So pack your things, and we'll bring you more of that. But let me get the preliminary comment of my panel members here. I will start with you, Professor Benedicta Fosu-Mensah. I know you've done your own work as well into the impact, and over the past weeks, we've been talking really about the devastating effect of illegal mining on our environment and water bodies. Let me just get your thoughts on what he just told us and what you found yourself.
Thank you. Good evening to my co-panelists, and good evening to our cherished viewers. It's really a sad time as a Ghanaian, because when you look at the level of destruction, it looks like we are all at the verge of perishing, because there's a saying that the day the last tree dies, that's when the last man will die. And this level of destruction, as far as illegal mining is concerned, is an existential threat it looks like Ghana, we are on a mission of genocide. People feel they are very far from Galamsey side, but hey, Galamsey and the effect of Galamsey is right on your dining table. We are all just heading towards maybe extinction. And it's so sad listening to the young man and listening to, you know, what is going on in the country. The fact that the people who are supposed to be leading the fight are being alleged to be neck deep. And it looks like sometimes we seems not to know the environmental cost as far as illegal mining is concerned. But I can tell you that the environmental cost sometimes is far more than the economic benefit as far as illegal mining is concerned. And it's so sad when you look at Ghana's commitment, and especially when we tell the world that we are fighting climate change, and we come out to say that, hey, there's a particular month or particular week we dedicate for planting of millions of seedlings, and yet we go to the belly of the forest to destroy the forest with so much impunity. And then you ask yourself, are we really serious as a country if we tell the world that we are fighting or we are mitigating climate change? We are carrying out activity to reduce the impact of climate change, and yet our actions, the things we do, is direct opposite of what we say we are doing. Look, illegal mining, of course, we all know the level of destruction it brings to us. We are talking about water pollution. And when we talk about water pollution, we are talking about a whole ecosystem being destroyed. So the aquatic ecosystem is completely destroyed because these illegal miners release a lot of contaminants like mercury, like cyanide, and these destroy the ecosystem. So all living organisms within the aquatic environment is destroyed. Now human beings rely on this water for domestic and our everyday use. So when these water bodies are polluted, it gets back to us. Ghana Water Company is saying that the level of turbidity have increased from the normal level, which is 2,000 NTU,
yes,
to about 14,000.
They are actually not able to treat
exactly so
about 50% of our water right now.
If you are looking at the percentage increase, it's just unbelievable.
And I'll come back to you. I just want to get the preliminary thought of Nia Yukoyotu as well, former AG. You just heard Professor Fosu Mensah saying we're on a mission of genocide and asking whether we're serious as a country. You're a former AG. What's your thoughts?
Well, thank you. I think what people are missing is whether the fact that you want to do some kind of job to exist means you can decide that you can do any kind of job. In other words, you cannot come and tell me that as for you are an armed robber and that's what you do for a living, and we should allow you to continue to do that. Because at the end of the day, the thing breaks down to, oh, but they need to exist. They need to find a living. Can you just do any kind of job, which we call a living, even when you see the effects, such that, I mean, it's affecting everybody? Is that a job that we must encourage? That's the issue to me. If you think Ghanaians are part owners of our natural resources, and people come from outside to come and mine, so allow them also to do some small-scale mining. Is that what we told them to go and do? Was this what the others were doing before they came? And why do we, at this stage, you know, find things so hard and difficult? It's so bad. The expert has already told you what we are facing.
But the thief will not say that, well, because it's against the law, I will not steal. So it has to be the government or those in authorities to ensure that we enforce our laws. And I'm glad you're a former Attorney General.
Exactly the point
we have failed to enforce our laws, and so it was right.
Exactly the point I'm making. And don't put it on one government. Don't put it on one government. When MPP came to power, they started working on Galamsey. They started telling those young men to find other jobs. They brought in palm seeds, asking them to go and grow palm. They were doing something about it. So what was that government also doing within the period? You saw all the kind of social media, stories about when MPP is saying stop it, and NDC is saying go ahead. If they arrest you, we'll come and give you, what is it, amnesty and things like that.
And we'll go into.
So don't put it on anybody. We are all as a group to blame for what has happened.
Yes, and again, I'm glad you referred to the fact that when this government came into power, again, I'm not politicizing it, this government has put in some efforts to ensure that we deal with it. And yet, under the watch of this government, we've had an airline passed that allows mining in forest reserves.
If you ask those involved, they might tell you that they are talking about responsible mining. That you could do it, but know what we are doing. And that is why you find that the leaders are now finding it difficult to say we are coming to ban it. You listen to almost all of them and they keep talking about jobs. And that's where I am coming from. So that it's not every job that must be permitted. So if what is going on is wrong, let's stop it.
So do I hear you say that you are against the current quote-unquote lackadaisical attitude of the government towards the ban of small-scale mining, just as a temporary solution?
Well, I don't know what you mean by lackadaisical, but the point is, I've told you, are they worried about the jobs? And for me, if it is the jobs that the people will lose, then let them better lose the jobs that we have our environment clean.
Prof, I'll come back to you, Ms. Aiko Otu. I'm coming to you. Listening to this gentleman who gave us this information and indeed what's going on so far, I'm just wondering what your preliminary thoughts are.
I'm not surprised. And it's going to get worse. Because we are both incapable and unwilling to grab the bull by the horns. Why do I say so? Because this little kid who was talking does not even know who is financing his operations. Ghana and Ghanaians do not finance these operations. And let me just reel off some basic stats. We are the 6th largest gold producer in the whole world and the highest on this continent. 40% of the artisanal gold mining, or our gold output, is from artisanal mining. So as Honorable Aiko Otu was saying, 1 million people directly employed, 4.5 to 5 million people indirectly. But 80% of the artisanal gold mining is both unlicensed and illegal. Now, we have the highest smuggling on this continent. We lose about 2.3 billion annually and about 60 tons of gold every year. But I think it raises a fundamental question. And when I say the state is incapable and unwilling, let me just quote to you through the security lens what our national security strategy says. That it is a strategy that will optimize the effectiveness of the security and intelligence services in solving our current problems, prioritizing the use of our resources to promote effective decision-making through an institutional system. Our Security and Intelligence Services Act of 2020 relates to the National Security Council, providing for the establishment of regional and district security councils, specifying and coordinating the activities of the agencies responsible to protect and preserve the unity and stability of this republic. And we have a National Signals Act that is to provide an integrated signal system for national security for the purposes of the security of the state and protecting and preserving the unity and stability of the state. Now, this raises a fundamental point. Are these laws just for decorative purposes? Or they are meant to empower those that our taxpayers' money go to provide the protection and the services? Now, Honorable, I quote is here. And one is to have rule by law or the rule of law. This legislative instrument is basically rule by law. That says, look, you can mine responsibly in the waters. But business people, and particularly this type of business, is not interested in responsible behavior. So when as a nation, we brag that, well, we want effective decision making, institutional systems, integrated and efficient coordination, and a new institutional structure to protect the Ghana enterprise, then we begin to question ourselves, who are those funding this business that people are so frightened to do what they want to do? And we know the Chinese, we know the Burkinabes, we know the Indians, we know the Lebanese, okay? Are our people so corrupted, or have they been corrupted that they dare not do what is right? Because this little kid, and I can tell you next time you talk to him, ask him, who is paying for your tools, blah, 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 blah. They may find the gold nuggets, yes. But I can tell you, the people behind the criminal networks behind this, and their propensity and willingness to use violence to ensure that they continue to run this business, I don't think we have started to scratch the surface. And I think Benedicta's point that probably in this room were we to test levels of mercury, because it can travel thousands of kilometers in the air. So when Benedicta says we need to declare a state of an emergency because it is an existential threat, you can see the levels of hypocrisy where government ministers say, but this is too draconian.
The lands minister.
Yeah. Draconian when your people are dying? Because the net benefit from this business cannot offset the negative impact.
Aside from the hypocrisy bill you talk about, why do you think the lands minister will resist this call this call to declare a state of emergency?
Because it's been given the space to characterize it as such. Where is Parliament? And I think we are beginning to see a subtle shift. Because when Benedicta talks about the net impact on our communities, we are beginning to see young people beginning to resist. The guns are in abundance. The ammo is there. The explosive devices are available. So all I can say is that let's be careful. Because when the tipping point is reached, I can assure you, we will not be able to pull back from the brink. When I talk this way, people are for you, you are always drumming up and frightening us. I can tell you, I myself, I am afraid.
How bad could things get? Because, I mean, and that's a bit we didn't even play. The gentleman talks about witnessing these miners with guns, and guns that, you know, are not even common in our regular society.
In 2004, when I did the first baseline survey on small arms, there were 500,000 unregistered guns in Ghana. If you take the usual 20% attrition rate, so that by the time I did the next survey in 2014, there ought to have been about 400,000. In 2014, we found 2.4 million. We are going to do the next small arms survey, national survey. We are hoping to interview about 15,000 people using geospatial techniques to ensure that we actually locate where the guns are. If we see what has happened in West Africa and the larger sub-region in the last 10 years, I'll be surprised if we don't find 3 million unregistered guns. So the infrastructure for widespread mayhem and violence is there. The young man has told us that those who are mandated by the law to do the business of resisting and crushing this actually sell the information for profit. Basically, that the 6 of us in this room are basically stripped bare. The Honorable XXX Minister and High Commissioner. Okay, after leading this dignified life, he's now being threatened by this monster. This is a monster, and I've asked that if both parties are interested in resolving this danger that is staring at us in the face, they can pause the campaign for just 3 hours, sign a legally binding document, making promises to the people of Ghana that, look, irrespective of who wins, we are going to do A, B, C, D. Unfortunately, they can't, because the people around them are not the people who pull the strings with respect to Ghana.
And I was actually going to mention that today we had the running mates to the flag bearer of the NDC, Professor Nana Jinopokwa-German, saying that when the NDC comes to power, the party will teach these galamseyers, as it were, how to mine responsibly. These galamseyers, how to mine responsibly.
See, people are using words and phrases they don't understand.
And then we've also heard the MP for Fiduasi Asokore, Ayuefriye, who I believe is still the chairman of the Health Committee of Parliament, also saying that it is the opponent right now that is calling for the ban on small-scale mining because the opponent wants the MPP to lose seats in constituencies across the country. And I can go on and on to state, you know, the people who have spoken, should I say compromisingly, about this illegal mining issue. But I'm coming to you, former AG. You just heard Professor Kwesieni there saying that we are hypocritical in our approach. And I've just mentioned these individuals who have spoken about our current fight, as it were. Would you support the call for a declaration of a state of emergency, although we don't seem to have that support from the current lands minister?
Well, as I said, this is a national matter, and I'm happy that you assembled as not in your usual MPP NDC divide, but you brought people who want to have a conversation. And to me, it's quite a serious matter which is happening, at least for the president to have thought of putting together some interministerial committee, which we have seen before. This is not new. And Fripom Boate and all the things that happen, we are aware of what took place. Whether anything new will come out of it is another matter. But sure, we all have a responsibility to draw the government's attention.
Should there be a state of emergency declared?
I would have nothing against that if we are to help to salvage what is going back.
And do you support the call to ban small-scale mining for the meantime?
I would support it, and I keep telling you that from I already have cited some of those statements already, that both of them are looking at it from the point of view of jobs creation, and the fact that people are going to lose jobs. But at what price, to the state?
Do you think that the political parties, including the MPP that you've been or you belong to, are sacrificing the interest of the country for the parties, based on the conversations you've heard so far?
When you narrow it to MPP, that's where I have my problem.
I'm talking about both MPP and NDC.
What the other two are saying from the other side, none of them is making any commitment that I'm going to stop this thing.
So they've chosen the parties over Ghana.
That is what is happening. And I'm saying that if the job is illegal, if it's unlawful, stop it. That's where I want to come from. I agree, yes, you need to exist. But you cannot live by armed robbery. You cannot say that your job is stealing. You are only defrauding people. You can't do that. You must find another job to do. If you want to exist, yes, because not everybody is engaged in armed robbery, and they exist. I'm sure all of us here are not involved in any mining, and we also exist. So why is it that we create the impression that the people can only survive if they go into illegal mining? And this, I mean, you saw the booty falls or something on social media, what we also... Can this be happening in Ghana? All waters are polluted. Now we are being told that it's getting into the sea.
It has.
It
It already
getting
does,
to the
yes.
sea.
Yes, it
It's
has.
already in the sea.
It is already in the sea.
So what are we talking about? Is that people should work? No, I don't agree with that. That kind of attitude is wrong, completely wrong. For me, I'll tell you that I'm against it.
For instance, at the 28th GJA Awards, which happened on Saturday, the GJA president called out the president and others for failing to even comment on this illegal mining issue when he had that prime opportunity. Do you support what he said?
I know I didn't watch, but from what I hear, rather, he said nothing.
Others think that even right now, the president should be doing another fellow Ghanaians. And he seemed to have gone, or he seemed to have slept on it.
Oh, but he will tell you that he set up a ministerial committee.
But people say at this time, we don't need to talk, just work, because you know what the problem is.
Well, it's the time lags, lines that should be important. When are they to work? When are they to give us a report? Yes, you've set up something, but when? Is it forever?
You set up something, but work, is it forever? That would be Ayiko to the former Attorney General. You're still here on Agenda. We are talking about the government's dilemma on whether or not to ban small-scale mining. When we come back, we'll be telling you about the way forward on dealing with this issue. Don't go away.
Most of the people for whom we give tax waivers tend to be among those who actually leave. If you incentivize them to come in for the money, they will leave for the money. If you have a situation where the manifesto consists of promises of what they will deliver, that's why I scored a 25%. Whoever is going to win the next election should realize Ghanaians are not going to have the patience for the next government. I don't really believe politicians intend to bring the informal sector into the tax bracket. I don't think so. I don't think they intend.
How could you make such a statement?
For the last 40 years or so, with all the brilliant minds in the public sector, we don't know how to bring the informal sector into the tax bracket. No.
Business Focus shows Tuesdays at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Results.
And you're watching Agenda here on TV3. We're talking about the need to ban or regulate small-scale mining and the government's dilemma. My panel members, we have Professor Kwesi Enin, who is a security consultant. We also do have with us Professor Benedict Fosu-Mensah, who is with who is actually the Director, Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana. And we have former Attorney General with us, Ni Ayiko Otu. And before we went on break, we heard Ayiko Otu really telling us about the stance of both political parties and the need for us to change. I just want to come to you, Professor Benedicta. Others argue that we are where we are because of selfishness and greed.
Yes, well, I think you are not far from that, because when you look at the people who are neck deep in this galamsey, they are not necessarily people who are hungry. They are not people who are necessarily in need. We've had instances where names have been mentioned. I remember the famous Professor Frepom Boateng's report that indicates that people at authority or people who have political powers neck deep in this. We've had instances where a political chairman of a region being mentioned as one of the people who are mining in forest reserve. And so when you look at the people who are the mastermind behind this whole, I don't know whether to mention it as a cankerworm, are people who I would say are not needy. They are people who are not lacking. But it's more of greed, selfishness, and the desire to have money or wealth. Mining has been with us centuries. I think we cannot even, it dates back in the 18th centuries, if we talk about mining. But why are we seeing what we are seeing today? I believe that as a country, I support the ban in illegal mining. A total ban, whether you are licensed or it's illegal. The call for ban, we are not saying that they should ban it completely forever, but we are saying that give the ecosystem a chance to restore itself, to revive. Let's put things right. Let's look at where we have gone wrong. Mining is part of a sector that, would promote our economy. But the fact that we want to increase or we want to let the economy grow doesn't mean that our existence should be in a threat, or which does not mean that we should jeopardize our health because we want the economy to grow.
Let me ask
you. Now, when you go to Kolebu, for example, we are hearing report of an increase in the occurrence or report cases of people with kidney disease, people with issue of liver failure, and so on and so forth. So if you are a galamsey or you are somebody involved in illegal money, you get a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you spend so much to treat yourself, and they come to a point in time where even your wealth, your money cannot buy your health. That is at the point where, everything becomes meaningless. And I think we are reaching a state where, as a people, we need to say enough is enough. We cannot pretend that we are solving this issue of illegal mining. This whole issue of illegal mining and the fact that we are not able to fight it or to stop it is as a result of political will. I believe that if the president today says, look, I do not want to see anybody in any site mining, I believe it will stop. It is that commitment, sincerity. If the president of Ghana says we are stopping mining in any form, whether small, whether large, whether legal or illegal, everybody, nobody should be in the forest, in our water body mining. I believe it will stop. Look, the people who are preaching the fact that people need to feed themselves, there are a lot of alternative livelihood activity that we can help our people to get. And that is why we need to come to the drawing table, that as a country, we need to find jobs for our youth. But we cannot use the excuse that because there are no jobs, so people should go into the forest and mine, people should go to water body and mine. Sometimes you look at it and it's as if, excuse me my language, as if there's something wrong with us. Because the water body that we are destroying is the very water body that Ghana Water Company is relying on to treat and pump into our homes. So how do we expect to get drinking water? Look, if there's anybody in this country who is deceiving himself or herself that they will import water to drink, then they should say that they are going to import food. They will not eat the fried chicken. They will not eat the akosombo fish, we all know. They will not eat plantain chips. Look, I did a research with one of my PhD students, and just taking plantain as a crop, looking at the level of mercury, the level of cadmium, the level of cyanide.
In the plantain?
In the plantain.
How long ago?
This is just about a year ago that we did the research.
From which part of the country did you take that sample?
Aboka, South. That's where we did the research. And we looked at the health index. If you're talking about percentage 10, the health index is as high as, I just written 110%.
And it's supposed to be how much?
So for example, if we say, if your health index, you check health index and it's less than 1, then it means that it's within a safe range to eat such food.
Less than 1.
But this one, we are seeing the health index at 11. 11.034. So in percentage-wise, it means 110% more than what is required in a crop like plantain. So if you are eating your fufu, thinking that you are having hot meal, you are enjoying your food, you are only taking in a lot of mercury, cyanide, cadmium, and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm saying that, look, if we are here in Accra and we think that we are far from Galamsey side, hey, I beg you, your lunch is full of contaminant. It's full of toxin. For example, we also check for crab. We check for contombre. And all these contain some amount of toxins.
So we should stop eating from Galamsey areas. It seems that's the message you're giving us.
That is the trick, because if you go to the market and you are shopping, you don't even know where this food is coming from. And look, again, let me just send this word of caution to everyone watching us this evening. This is a serious issue. We shouldn't take it lightly. There are people who think they are going to the big mall to buy their vegetables. I can tell you that some of these malls buy their vegetables from farmers from some of these areas. So if you think that your vegetable is imported and so you are free, I can bet you it's not true. So this tells us that, look, you can be innocent out there, but you are also eating some of the contaminants. And it will not be long. You'll be diagnosed of kidney. You'll be diagnosed of liver disease. Why would we want to spend a chunk of the taxpayers' money trying to treat ourselves? Look, a country that is sick is a country that is unproductive.
And I want to go to...
Imagine if, for example, a large chunk of the middle class, the people who are supposed to be doing all the things that we think we should do to let the economy grow, are sick and have to spend quality time attending health facility. Where do we go as a country?
I want to go to Prof very shortly, and then I'll come to former AG Nia Koyotu. But you talked about you supporting the ban. How long will it take, I mean, if we ban it, for us to get our environment and our water bodies back? Because I'm sure you've come across a research document that suggests that there are certain countries that even have these minerals more than we do, but they know the effects, so they've decided not to mine them.
Yes, you know, just as the human being, the same way the environment is able to regenerate, to reclaim itself. So the banding is just to help the environment to be able to recover. So for example, there are microorganisms within the environment that are able to attack some of these contaminants and at least reduce the level of toxins in these contaminants. We have also, for example, plants that are able to pick up some of these contaminants in the environment in a form of remediation that also would be able to remove the contaminants from our environment. So by this process, we will be able to allow the environment to be able to heal itself. And that is just the call we are asking for. The water body is able to also reclaim itself with time. And so if we allow this, we believe that at least for a year or so, we will be able to allow the environment to regenerate itself. And also some of the pits that, for example, are left uncovered. We should be talking about reclamation. We should be talking about remediation of this polluted field. For example, we are seeing reduction of cocoa production, and Ghana Cocoa Board indicated that in 2022 alone, we had 19,000 hectares of cocoa farm being destroyed.
And I'll come back to you. I just want to come to Prof. You heard Professor Benedicta Fosu-Mensah saying that she is expecting the president to make a clear declaration, telling people that this is no good, just stop it. You said earlier that you don't expect any government official or politician to do that, but really, beyond that, going into the future, I know you said that you don't expect it, but personally, what do you expect from them, really?
Who?
From the actors, those who are supposed to ensure that things are done properly.
I don't expect anything.
You don't expect anything?
Look, let's be real. Benedicta has given us a very optimistic and I think the proper thing. As a nation, we need to hope. But we've passed that. We need a set of measures that makes it unprofitable to flout the rules. You know, normally when people talk about weak states, fragile states, they are deliberate methodologies by elites or elite settlements to ensure that the state does not work. So were we to ban, then look, as the people of Ghana will ban. Because when Benedicta says it's become an existential threat, what it means in political science terms is that we need extraordinary measures beyond the normal realm of politics to be able to deal with that problem. But those who should be moving the conversations and the policy beyond the normal realm of politics themselves are involved. Now, striking a blow against the Republic of Ghana has become a national sport. Indiscipline, disrespect. If you like, for the sake of this argument, ask the parliamentarians to sing just the first stanza of the national anthem or to recite the pledge. Because the notion of loyalty to Ghana, in which, as Benedicta say, we say, stop. The waters will regenerate themselves. Right now, that regeneration is going to take a long time. She talks about plants that have the capacity to absorb some of these toxins. We've used spraying, chemicals that are banned elsewhere. Okay, so we've become so indisciplined that even those who need to pass the law, look at the parliamentarians, passing a law so that they can overspeed. That is the level of degeneration in this country. So do I trust anybody? No. Do I have hope they are willing and prepared to do something? No.
So then where do we go to? Where do we move from here?
They've got to be hauled before a court of competent jurisdiction.
Who are they?
And not in Ghana.
Who are they?
Pardon?
They?
Those who have failed and committed environmental crimes. The Financial Action Task Force Recommendation 40 makes environmental crimes a punishable international crime. And I think the lawyers in this country, who at least have some conscience, must begin to put those things together. Left to our politicians alone, it will never happen. That one I can bet. I don't know if Honorable is a whiskey drinking man, but I will bet him my last Lagavulin. It will not happen. Because politicians speak with four tongues. The mellifluous one when they meet our international partners and IMF and the World Bank. Then the ones when they stand on platforms and speak to us nicely. Then the third one is when they make these slippages, where they deliberately lie and distort our history and use, dismissive language against women, those of us who stammer and all that. But their real language is when they are behind closed doors.
So I just want to get it clearly. Those who ought to be put before the courts, aside from the lands ministers, who else do you expect?
Parliamentarians on respective committees, those who have benefited from these laws. No. I mean, if you have those who know how predicate crimes can be tracked, in ECOWAS is actually looking at the Ghana case very carefully because it has this institution, the Intergovernmental Action Against Money Laundering, based in Dakar, watching the Galamsey and the financing and illicit financing issues very closely. The depth of criminality and collusion that allows Galamsey to continue. It's not something that we expect politicians to jump onto the platform and make noises. And therein lies the contradictions that Honorable Aiku Otu is saying. Okay? every single manifesto of the parties waxes lyrical about Galamsey. But you scratch the surface and ask them a question, they are fumbling all over because they haven't got the already written answers for them to read. There is no commitment to fighting this fight.
There is no commitment to fighting this fight. Ayuko, what's your own thought on moving forward? We've just heard Professor Enin there telling us that people need to be prosecuted if we really want to deal with this issue seriously.
Prof has made the point earlier that we are not enforcing the law. I think the mining laws have sufficient provisions to deal with land reclamation and things like that. Because the kind of things they do here without any scientific basis of doing let's try whether in this area we get gold, and then they go, they don't get, then they leave it, move on to another place and the rest. I think the law talks about reclamation. They should cover up and things. They don't do it, and nobody cares, you know. So the party's flag bearer is talking about scientific mining, where they use the geological survey reports to pinpoint where, you know, mining the minerals are, so we don't waste, you know, the land and the rest. Of course, you find the difficulty in which both parties seem to be finding themselves is the whole idea of job creation and job losses. Because in 2020, I recall when the MPP was going all out, the NDC said, no, we won't come and ban anything. I do recall that the Galamseyers even put money together to buy pickups for the NDC because they have assured them that they are not coming to ban anything. You understand? So maybe we need more, you know, thinking about the alternative livelihood thing, which we thought about, and we wanted them to go into palm, you know, plantation. Something that would stay for long and they can benefit from it. We have all seen the Malaysia or so that came and took a few seats here, and what they are doing with palm oil.
We heard Professor Benedicta Fosu-Mensah saying that the president must call out the people involved and declare that, listen, this is no good, let's not do it. Professor Enin says he doesn't expect anything from the president or any political figure. What do you expect the president and people in government, including the lands minister, to do now?
You ask yourself, how many more months do we have for elections? And then you begin to wonder whether the political fortunes, you know, do not have a bearing on what is happening. Because if somebody wants to come to power and people are telling him that, look, we want this thing to be banned, so give us a promise that when you come, you are coming to ban it. He says, I won't do it. I'm not going to give you any such promise because the people must exist.
The understanding I'm getting from what we've had so far is that, I mean, there's no commitment of a sort. And again, we are behaving like ostriches, as it were. Would you say, let me put it this way, just asking your thought on the arrest of these individuals, for instance, the Democracy Hub protesters, because others are arguing that you have the big fishes, you're not getting them. Now people want to demonstrate and you've gone to arrest them. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's a good signal towards fighting this illegal mining issue?
See, the leadership of that Democracy Hub must have to take the blame for what has happened.
Why?
It's most unfortunate. Go and demonstrate. Why do you go and block roads? Why do you go and fight with policemen? Why do you go and burn lorry ties.
But does it warrant you 2 weeks behind bars?
No, I'm not talking about that. But when you go beyond, what is, your legitimate rights, you are allowing others to just go into your space. Peaceful demonstration. We've all seen peaceful demonstrations elsewhere in the world. Have you seen them burning ties in the European countries and America and everywhere? Do you see them burning ties? They go on their useful demonstrations. Let your placards speak for you. Whatever it is that you want to say it by your placards. But when you get into these areas, then you give the police the chance to say that, well, you are behaving like criminals.
Let me just get your.
So they are now treating you as criminals. It's unfortunate that the judges would also do these, misdemeanor crimes. These are not very serious matters for which people should be put in, jail for 2 weeks.
It's too much.
Some should actually go to prison cells. Others must go to police. If what we are reading, in the papers is true, I don't think it's necessary. There could be caution, there could be advice. But if you have leaders who are supposed to be lawyers or law students, doing this sort of thing, you are causing trouble for yourself.
But what about the leaders who are to ban and they are not banning?
Sorry.
The leaders who are supposed to ensure the right things are done in the country,
But
who are not.
Your demonstration, you have a right to demonstrate. Why do you get involved in some criminality which will land you somewhere?
Today marks the expiration of the September 30 deadline given by organized labor to the government to declare a state of emergency. Are you disappointed that, it's almost 10 p.m. and we don't seem to have heard anything from the government?
We don't know what is happening behind the scenes, so let's see what happens tomorrow. But we were in this country when we had difficulty with the snitch and the sale of some, when organized labor came in, quickly there was a change. So let's see what happens by tomorrow.
Let's see what happens by tomorrow. And that will be it for Agenda tonight. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, our panel members have been Professor Benedicta Fosu-Mensah, Acting Director, Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana. Right at my right-hand side, we've had Professor Kwesi Enin, who is a security consultant. Thank you so much for also joining us. And you just heard him speak there, Ayikwe Otu, Ni Ayikwe Otu, former Attorney General. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us on Agenda. My name is Beatrice Adu. Coming up next is Ghana Tonight. Don't go away. Keep watching TV3.
Thank you.